A very pleasant evening to all of you. This is Akshay Kumar, and I am here to give you a brief knowledge about the thing or factor which is very basic to the cultivation of crops or for the pursuing of the agricultural science into the practice, and this is undoubtedly the soil. The soil, the word, is derived from the Latin word solum, which means the ground or the floor of the earth's crust. Soil is being abbreviated as S, which stands for the soul, O, which stands for off, I, which stands for infinite, L is stands for the life, that is soul of the infinite life. The soil and these various aspects is being covered into the agricultural science as a subject which is popularly known as the soil science, and the father of soil science is V.V. Docushev. He has been by far the greatest contribution in the soil science along with the other scientists as well, but he is regarded as the father of the soil science, that is V.V. Docushev. Quickly summarizing the topic which I will be covering in this video is first the soil definition, that is what does it means actually to us, the various terms which is being recurring in this course of study of soil science which we need to be acquainted with is like edaphology, pedology, etc. Then we will be covering with the types of rocks, then the earth minerals, then the soil formation along with the classification which is given by the various scientists, and the most common one, and then we'll be covering the soil profile, the properties of the soil, which is very important topic. Coming quickly to the definition of the soil. Soil is a dynamic natural body having three-dimensional structures which are composed of the minerals and organic materials as well as living forms in which the plant actually grows. Yes, the soil is the very basic structure upon which we can cultivate the crops. However, there are several techniques into practice now, that is like hydroponics, in which we will do the soilless cultivation into the media, but these are all restricted in use only for some horticultural and ornamental crops. And if we have to pursue this cultivation on a large scale, we definitely need the soil, and thus the soil is also known as the reservoirs of minerals and nutrition for the plants. Coming to the various terms which we will be dealing with in the soil science, that is edaphology. Edaphology is derived from the two Greek words edaphos, which means soil, and logos means discourse or the study. It is actually the study of soil properties with relation with the growth, nutrition and the yield of the crops. It is being studied with the relation of how plant factors reacts with the soil is actually the edaphology. According to the edaphology, soil is a natural habitat for the plants. It is undoubtedly the natural habitats of the plants because it is where the plants actually naturally grows, right? In the agricultural science also, when we used to grow crops on a wider scale, we use soil for the media. Next is the pedology. Pedology is also derived from the Greek word, that is pedons means soils and logos means discourse or the study. It is the study of the origin, classification and the description of soil. The father of the soil science is also known as the father of pedology, that is the V.V. Docushev. And according to the pedology, the soil is a natural body, and soil is very much living body, if we say, with respect to us and the plants, because it responds to the plants, it responds to the practices which we perform for the cultivation of the crops. Then we'll be covering the types of rocks, which is very basic thing. We deals it with geography as well, that is the different types of rocks which is formed. Is the first one is the igneous rocks. Igneous rocks is we have very basic example of that is and it is the primary rock which is formed by the cooling of the lava or magma which is being thrown out of the volcanic eruptions, right? So that is the igneous rocks, and we have very basic example of that is the granite and the basalt. Next is the sedimentary rock, which is being formed by the layering of the different by the layering of the that volcanic eruptions, lavas, and the cooling off, and then sedimentation under sedimentation, layering by the rocks. And we have very basic example of sedimentary rock as limestone, sandstone, and dolomite. Then it comes the metamorphic rock, which changes its forms after being formed also. It and we have very basic example of that is gneiss, marble, quartz, etc. Then quickly coming to the soil formation process, how the soil is being formed in nature. The soil is formed from the weathering of the rocks, which ultimately defines its parent material. So in this nature, the soil forming process is very slow process. It is a very slow process. You can imagine it that 1 inch of the topsoil layer is being formed within a time duration of 200 to 1000 years. You can imagine by that to what extent it is the slowest process. It is the very slow process which is being occurring naturally in the environment by the weathering of the rocks. Now I'll be dealing with the classification of the soil forming process, which is being given by many of the scientists, but we'll be dealing with the important ones, which is very popular, that is which is given by the H. Jenny. And according to him, he presented it into a mathematical formula, which is like S is equals to F Cl R O P T, which here S stands for the soil forming process, S stand for the independent variable, Cl stand for the climate, R stand for the relief topography, O stand for the organisms, P stand for the parent material, and T hereby stands for the time. These all are the factors which contributes to the various soil forming processes. Now I'll be dealing with the soil profile. This is the very basic thing. If we cut a vertical section of the soil through the soil, through all its horizons, and extending it to the parent material, we'll find individual layers we'll find into the cut section, and these individual layers are being regarded as the horizons. The soil layer is being described or denoted as into horizons as OABC, where O horizon stands for organic horizon. It is being found in the virgin soils, or it is absent in the arable soil. Arable means cultivable soils. It is being found in the forest area, where the soil is not at all being cultivated. It is a virgin soil, and here you will find the maximum washing off or maximum bleaching taking place. Next is the A horizon. It is the uppermost soil horizon rich in the organic matter. Then comes the B horizon, which is the often regarded as the subsoil, which is under the A horizon, and it is a zone of washing in and horizon of maximum accumulation. It is also known as alluvial horizon, which means it's here the maximum accumulation or immobilization of materials like Fe and Al oxides and silicate clays happens. Then there comes the C horizon. C horizon is actually unconsolidated material underlying the soil. Soil is actually the summation of A and B horizon. C horizon lies underneath the soil. It is the zone of least weathering, since it is underneath the A and B horizon. Hence, the weathering is very least at this horizon. Next is coming with the different properties of the soil. The first one is the soil texture, which is very important properties of the soil. It is actually denotes the soil size of the soil particles, and it can be it can be on the field, it can be determined by the feel method. We usually take it into the thumb and the forefinger and we feel it, the texture of the soil. And it is textural classes are there are 12 textural classes overall, but we will be dealing with the three main textural classes, that is sandy, silty and the clay soil. The sandy soil is having the sand percentage of more than 85% sand, and the silty soil where there is more than 80% of the silt, and clayey soil where there is more than 40% of the clay. Clay soils have the highest pore space than the other, hence the bulk density is the lowest. Bulk density is actually the inversely proportional to the pore space, that is, the highest the pore space of the soil, the lowest is the bulk density, and hereby the clay soil has the least bulk density and the sandy soil has the highest bulk density amongst these textural classes. Next is the soil which is being various soils which is being associated with various agricultural crops, that is the loamy soil, which is a very important crop, very important soil in respect to the agricultural crops. It has highest water retention and nutrient retention properties. It has better drainage, aeration and tillage properties than the clay soils. This is suitable for most of the crops, and hence it is known as hence it is the wider crops can be in the agriculture science can be grown in this kind of soil. Next is the heavy soil. Heavy soil is actually the clayey soils which have the which have the stickiness and cohesion amongst the particles of the soils, and where the implements to be operated is difficult to operate, and hence it is known as the heavy soils. It is good for cotton, sorghum and rice. Next is the light soils. Light soil is hereby is like the sandy soil, which is less sticky, which is having the better aeration drainage than the clay soils, and where the implements operated can be easily operated. The crops which are associated well preferred for this kind of soil is the tobacco, the groundnut, where we find the peg formation is taking place. The peg formation is a very important stage for the groundnut to prosper, and hence it requires the light soil for the implements to go through and cultivate the crops. Next is potato, where the tuber formation is there. Tubers also requires the implements, that is in potato we all know that the very important very important stage, tuber formation, which requires the earthing up process is being taken in that potato cultivation, which is very important. So it requires light soil to prosper, and legumes as well requires the light soil, because there is root nodules formation and it requires the light soil to prosper. Here light and heavy soil is nothing to do with the weight of the soil, but it is just the degree of resistance which it provides for the operation of the implements is being regarded as light or heavy. Lesser the degree of resistance for operating of the implements, it is known as the light soil. More the resistance, it is being regarded as the heavy soil. Thank you and have a nice day.